Doug Prentice has said that he cannot continue to work on the committee. He's got other commitments. But anyway, for the record, I do want to indicate how much we owe him for the years of work here and the fact that he was so knowledgeable about regulations and laws and the history of many of these issues. So we really benefited from Doug's attendance and participation in the committee, and so I just want to put that on the record so that he gets some small acknowledgement of his contributions to this committee. Do we have any public comment? Yeah.
Scott Zenke, Doan Road. Good afternoon. I've got 27 years of experience in municipal public works. I was a superintendent of public works in Farmington, Connecticut, and also Glastonbury, Connecticut. You folks ask for advice or ideas on how to better what we have here in town. A suggestion at least over a year ago is to put additional sharrows on our streets. You go a quarter mile in any direction from 6th and Main Street, and there isn't a sharrow on a street to be had. Main Street, they stop at Academy. There's nothing down at the Barley Neck. There's nothing down Beach Road. Both of those streets are done. They're not going to be repaved. They're not going to be touched for years. Rock Harbor's the same way. You stop at Snow's Mid-Cape. That's the last sharrow. 5-gallon pail and traffic paint, a stencil, a paint machine goes a long way. And I know you guys are an advisory committee, so kick it on upstairs to the select board and see if we can't get things going. Calvin just installed new signs that say a 4-foot separation. From what? Direction's got to be given so people know where to go and they know where to ride. I don't ride a bike. Seats are too small, tires are too thin. But I do know what to look for and how to plan things out. So thank you. I'll save some comment for the Beach Road speed tables.
Okay,
Thanks.
Thank you. Actually, we were just talking about the markings, the new markings on the on Route 6 in Wellfleet, where they repaved, and they have much better delineation between bikes and traffic. So thank you.
I just wanted to make a public comment, too. Last meeting, I don't think we ever extended our thanks to Calvin and the DPW for the work they did to get the engineering design on the warrant in May, and how well represented that was and went right through. So I just wanted to acknowledge what great work you guys did on that, and thank you for it.
Excellent. It was a group effort, so appreciate it.
Yeah. A lot better outcome than the previous time. Okay, thanks. Okay.
Communication.
Yeah, communication.
I have had some communication, and I'm glad Scott isn't here because he'd tear his hair out for my bringing this up again.
That would be hard for him to do.
That's true. But this is, once again, regarding the signs that came along with the Bay Ridge Road spur from a bike trail. There is $8,800 left in that account, and we've talked about it multiple times about what kind of a sign can we put right there on the rail trail indicating where that goes to Bay Ridge and ultimately 6A. And I'm on the CPC, and this project was one of my assignments, and what they have now said is it's gone on so long that if we can't use that money up before the end of the year, they'd ask us to come back and apply again for whatever funds we would need for that, rather than continuing to drag this along when it hasn't been used, and they like to get some of these projects closed out.
So what does that take to,
I don't think $8,000, those signs are gonna cost $8,000. So, I mean, I think Calvin's got signs, right? Calvin,
Let's-
if you're, where they're to go, et cetera, and,
Let him speak.
I got from, MassDOT approved, directional signage that was provided at no cost to us. So if there's something else like a map or something like that that you want to install with like a kiosk showing where it goes, something like that, I mean, that's, where that might go, but
Yeah,
we have the basic MassDOT approved bicycle with an arrow sign that will say, as the bike, an arrow, and it'll say like 6A or to CCRT, so we'll have both
yeah.
ways.
So probably, at this point, you think just give the money back, and if there is something we need in the future, just go back and apply for whatever we need? Would that be your advice?
I don't think so. I mean, the signing's pretty simple that we have, so
Okay.
what you're,
So,
question, does it have to be, I mean, is there anything we can do for the crosswalk on 6A? I mean, I know that's a state highway, but, there's a lot of,
No, it has to be associated with
signage?
the construction, no, doesn't have to be signage, but it has to be associated with
That linkage.
that linkage.
Okay.
Yeah, with that project.
Calvin, I'm sorry,
Go ahead.
can I just clarify? So, the state did give you the okay to put the signs on 6A? So, do we have the go-ahead to
Gave me
do
the
it?
signs.
What?
They gave me the signs. They haven't expressed commitment to letting us put the signs out on 6A yet.
So that's what's holding it up, right? You don't have their okay?
Not an official okay, was just what I'm waiting for.
Right. But from a budgetary standpoint, you got the bike route signs, but we don't have the 6A signs that would say from a biker going from the rail trail to 6A. Those signs we don't have, is there much of a cost for those signs?
We have enough signs to sign it both ways in anticipation of installing the ones on 6A. Just don't have an access permit to install them.
Okay. So it's not a budgetary issue,
Not a budgetary issue.
and we have it, yeah.
And I have the signs.
Do you need permission from anyone to install the signs on the actual bike trail that says, that points that Overland Way spur is,
We have that permission. It's just.
You have that
in the
permission.
highway layout.
okay, so you have the permit, you'd be able to do it there and at the end of Overland Way, just not on 6A. Okay.
thank you.
I'll go ahead then and tell them to put that money back into the general funds. Okay.
Okay.
While we're talking signs, and Calvin, I know it's on the agenda, we didn't mention the 4-foot signs, and a shout out to Calvin and his team. We got 10 of them that have been put up on Main Street, Beach Road, and I'm excited every time I drive by and see those signs. I just want to say, hey, thank you. Thanks for doing
No,
it.
it was a well thought out plan, so we appreciate that. And we've ordered, phase 2, so start moving on with that.
Cool. Thank you.
Okay. Anything else on,
Communication.
yeah, any other communication? Anybody has?
Yes.
Griffin's
Peter, if I
had
can bring
his
up-
hand up for a while.
Sorry. Griffin?
Yes. Hi, everybody. Sorry I'm remote. It's my son's birthday, so I'm home with him. But anyways, I did meet with Steve Tupper, Cape Cod Commission, to discuss what we should do to look at potentially making some changes to the crossing West Road over the highway there. And he suggested, they had done a study a while back, which I think he sent me that information. But he suggested that basically the commission had taken it generally as far as they could, and it would probably behoove the town to have a consultant look at that, like a VHB or somebody like that that's used to working with Mass DOT. Steve thinks that Mass DOT is willing to work with us, but now that we would be looking at sort of the nitty gritty of dimensions and whatnot, and potential options, that it'd probably be best to have a VHB or somebody like that. I say VHB because they're, working on a few other things for us. And I know that they work in this realm. So I'm sure for a relatively short dollar amount, they could put together, 2 or 3 options that we could then take to, share with not only, and not only just drop the option, but take what the commission has done thus far, and make sure that they've, educated themselves with that. And then from there, develop a few options that we could then take to Mass DOT to at least have a conversation before we file any access permit that, may take them a while to look at. Calvin, I know you're paying and trying to get responses on things like that. So I just wanted to give an update on that, and I can follow up with Calvin on that, but I didn't know if we wanted to discuss that or add that as a future agenda item to talk about a little bit more, because it would require having some funds, but I think it would be under $10,000 certainly, to have somebody look at that. Thanks.
Okay, thanks. I hope you're not giving your son one of these e-bikes.
No,
Discuss
he's
that
10.
later.
No, maybe when he's 11. No, I'm joking. No e-bikes around here.
Okay,
Calvin wanted to respond to that, I think.
Calvin.
Yeah, kind of in response to that, and it might come up later. We did contract like on-call transportation engineers for like on-call engineering services for smaller projects like this. That we might be able to just, so we have like a retainer with them, and we can call them something, like look at something of the crossing of the bridge, or, we're gonna be talking about, permanent, speed tables and looking at other areas for speed tables, so we'd be able to call them and have them on retainer and just use some of these smaller projects, not have to, piece them out like that, so. I think it'll help streamline some of this stuff.
That's excellent. Thanks, Calvin.
Good, thank you. Okay, now the discussion of speed control and traffic calming measures. The chief obviously isn't here. Do we want to postpone that, or do we want to?
I thought what Calvin sent us, when I had asked whether we should put that on the agenda, what he had said was, really, the discussion, from what you indicated, Calvin, seemed to be quite simple. Our choice would, very complex, but a simple choice. And the choice would be, are we going to look at something like Dennis has done, where we reduce the speed through the entire town, or are we going to do it on a street-by-street basis? And that's pretty much the discussion or the decision. Is that right, Calvin?
Yeah, I mean, I think, I'd want, Chief to weigh in on that, because he's gonna be responsible for the enforcement of it, and I think one of the biggest things we have to consider is just the confusion it can cause if we're doing street by street, and if we are to do a town-wide reduction, does the town really want town-wide 25-mile-an-hour speed limit? It's possible to do, several options. You could go, currently we're on a thickly settled 30-mile-an-hour town-wide opt-in. You can do 25-mile-an-hour town-wide. You can do street-by-street 25-mile-an-hour. And then the safety zones is also part of this. So it's really what's a right fit for the community. And, it's not something I want to make on my own. If we want input from Chief, I think it would be appropriate.
What, you say thickly settled is a opt-in situation.
Mm-hmm.
So what is required there? A certain percentage of people living on that road?
So thickly settled is where houses are situated, averaging less than 200 feet between them for a distance of a quarter mile or more.
What you're discussing sounds to me like it's something that certainly isn't within the purview of this committee to even, I don't even know if we could even advise at this point. It's going to be Chief Deering, Chief McDonald, yourself, that are going to be the ones that are going to be the experts in what's needed for the town's safety here. And the decision, I'm sure, is going to have to be taken to the select board. So probably, at this point, as you say, it's not like there's anything that we can do. I don't know if, Peter, you are going to be having a meeting with the select board, and I guess we're all going to be in a meeting on Wednesday with them. Bring this up as a possible topic of, is there a direction that the select board wants everyone to go? That would,
So what exactly has Dennis done?
Dennis opted into a town-wide 25. So at all the entrances to their town, they had to put these signs up, say 25 mile an hour, thickly settled, unless otherwise posted. So I think in some areas, it's great. In some areas, it might not be a good fit. But then you have to post every road that you want to be above 25. So, in Dennis's case, some of their roads that enter into town, they have a sign that says 25 mile an hour unless otherwise posted, and then 100 feet up the road, it's 40 mile an hour zone. So
Really?
that's where the confusion comes into play.
yeah.
So in that case, thickly settled allows you to go faster than the normal,
No, so thickly settled is opting into that townwide
okay.
regulation. The 40 mile an hour zone would be a regulatory speed limit outside of this program. So, I think Griffin has something to say too.
Griffin?
Yeah, it's also, it's pretty complicated from an enforcement perspective where, when it's advisory, you can't pull somebody over. You can't, you can't sit on the side of the road with the speed gun and pull somebody over. You have to track them for an eighth of a mile or a quarter of a mile. So most people slow down when the police are behind them. So, I think that's something that we really need to think about is, and I get it, we really do want people to slow down, but sometimes the townwide sort of mandates aren't the best fit. And from an when you can't enforce it, then it just doesn't feel like it has the teeth that you want it to, and you end up with a lot of signs around town that maybe don't have the legs that you want them to be able to have.
The thickly settled signs are yellow, right? And the speed limit ones that the police can enforce are the white ones.
Correct.
The big difference.
Correct.
They actually updated the thickly settled signs recently. They're white and yellow.
Oh, great. More confusion.
And then the safety zones actually are a regulatory speed limit.
Yes, safety zones are. Those are
So,
the ones that, yeah, you're correct.
That's
Sorry.
enforceable. I don't know how long they have to be tracked for, but it is a
Safety zones, they
enforceable-
don't. No, so I think
Yeah.
safety zones have a different,
It's a regulatory speed limit, so you also have to do traffic engineering study in order to opt into that.
So you said that the thickly settled are now a different format or colors. Do we
There's
have to change
newer-
those?
No, they typically don't make you swap out signs if something's in its useful life. So there's, newer signs that say which section of the thickly settled you've opted into. So now it would say, I have it here actually, 17,
yeah.
17C.
I think you're right. Yeah.
It says that you've opted into the Mass General Law, like 17C, and that's white. I think the thickly settled part still stays yellow. So it's actually a pretty complicated looking sign.
It's
'cause
still
got
an
a-
advisory
Yeah.
speed limit though, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
But it's got like thickly settled in yellow, then the speed limit, and then it states the Mass General Law under the speed limit now. So it's seemed to be moving away from, adding, language to street signs, and this one seems to be moving in the other direction.
But But around town, we have, like around Smitty's, we'll have thickly settled 30, and then maybe 100 feet, I think it's before or after, there's a white 30-mile speed limit. So it's kind of duplicates the efforts, and isn't really, is it overkill?
So we are trying to replace and update, stuff that isn't conforming. Like there are areas that have a yellow thickly settled sign that someone just put a white and black 30-mile-an-hour, speed limit sign attached to it, and that's not the right way of posting that. So we have been working proactively to pull those in and make them all yellow like they're supposed to be. But like you said, we don't have a whole lot of regulatory speed limits through town.
Yeah.
So most of our signage should be yellow.
Okay.
Can I ask a question about the temporary speed table that was put in at Skakit, like how that materialized and how it filtered up from the neighborhood? Did it, or how, who made the decision and how that all happened?
I wasn't
You know?
really involved when that became a thing. I do think that PD had a large involvement in it because they noticed so many speeders on the road. So they would have had to done a full traffic study in order for that to happen. So if they were noticing confirmed high speeds on the road, and then they could move into a traffic study, and then they could work with MassDOT to get that area outlined as a safety zone, post it, and then it becomes a regular.
So you think it maybe the Chief McDonald, the police department had the biggest, push on that or slowing traffic down? Did this committee get involved? Do you guys know?
No, I don't believe that we did. I think Chief McDonald,
We were involved in.
were you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
It might have been pre our
Yeah.
committee combination.
I mean, it was one of those, like many of the other issues that this committee visits lingered for a very long time. And the number of studies and all those things, like Calvin, I believe all those things were done. And it was sort of like, let's take this for a test drive, and not commit to a permanent speed table because of the cost and want to see if it works. And then there was feedback that it was in the wrong location, I do believe, and it was relocated, partly because of noise and where it landed sort of to the neighbors. But, I mean, that was sort of the process for
Yeah.
that.
Was it also changed from previous years? Because for some reason, I'm thinking the old one was a real bump and this new one is more gradual. Is that?
It's the same.
The same
it's
unit?
the same device. We did move it further up the road to try and pull it away from some of the residents' homes that were giving feedback on the noise that it caused.
So it's, for some reason, it just seems like it's not as onerous as it was last year. It was just,
Or you're just expecting it and slowing down now.
Changed habit.
but I think, I'm kind of like thinking, should we look at some of these areas of the town where we really want, I mean, I know what, you have these posted yellow signs and people are gonna drive, what they think is safe and, typically, and people don't, and they'll exceed the speed limit. So I think as a town, we just need to kind of figure out where do we really want to calm traffic and where does speed table be appropriate? And as a committee, we might, just discuss some of these key areas in the town,
Yeah, I think a lot of that would go with having a traffic study where they've exhibited known, high speeds through town, and have that supporting evidence to put these in. So a lot of areas where there's a perceived, speeding issue, there isn't. So, we would want to target where there is a
Right.
confirmed, speeding issue throughout the town if we are to start installing permanent structures.
From our last meeting, I think you were gonna ask around and see what the cost is of those. You had mentioned something like $100,000. Is it really that expensive?
I don't think it would be $100,000. I think that's one of the things that will be beneficial of having this on-call services with this
What is it?
engineer, where we can get, quick kind of small projects, streamlined, cheap, and then get cost estimates based on that. So I don't have a price for it right now, but I don't think it would be $100,000.
I'm in the wrong business. If it's 100,000, I should have been a speed bump guy.
So for the minutes, should I indicate that the next step on this will be, we are going to be having this meeting on August 5th with the Select Board. I don't know what we're to expect of that meeting, whether we're going to be cautioned what things the committee can be involved in, as opposed to the DPW and Jeff and Scott. But maybe that can be, this whole discussion about speed control and traffic calming, is that anything that we need to discuss as a committee, or is it in the hands of the professionals and really not needing our input?
Yeah, I mean, we're going to get a bit more, I don't know we'll get a lot of guidance. I think they're still in the early stages of doing this review.
Okay,
So I don't know how interactive it is going to be, to tell you the truth.
all right.
But we'll at least get a better sense of how they see the division of labor between advisory committees and staff. And that we're a little bit different than, I guess, most other committees, in that we have that mix in the committee itself. So I'm not sure how they will deal with that, but I think we're a ways away from getting really clear guidance. I think we're one of the first committees that they are reviewing. I'll say a little bit more when we get further down in the agenda.
Okay.
Okay, anything more about the traffic calming and so forth? Okay, the Main Street RFP update. Calvin, do you have anything new on where that stands?
There's nothing new there. Obviously, we've got the funding appropriated in July, so, we'll work on developing an RFP and putting that out.
And when you do an RFP, how much time do you give people to respond?
I mean, it can depend. I think 30 days maybe for this
Yeah.
might be nice.
Yeah.
Griffin.
Less.
Griffin?
Yeah, just a question, I guess. So it's the RFP for the engineering design, right, Calvin?
Yes, the engineering design. Yep.
Okay. Which is exempt from procurement, right? So you could just hire an engineering firm if we wanted to.
We could, yep.
Okay. All right. But
Well, isn't it not exempt, depending on what we think the anticipated project cost would be?
I don't think so. I think it's because it's engineering services. It's still exempt. But I just if going out to bid might get us better prices. I just know VHB's been looking at it, but I think going
Yeah,
out to bid is just the same. I mean, there's a lot of people in that space, and I think it shouldn't be that hard actually.
Right, it
for
might
what?
not be an RFP, I think it would be an RFQ.
Sure.
And then,
Oh, yeah. All right.
And then-
Makes sense.
however we handle it, we'll move it forward.
No, I think that's good business practice. That's great. Awesome. Thank you.
Okay.
Under that, I had the discussion
Right,
of the
CIP.
CIP. Right now, on the CIP, the construction for Main Street is still showing in FY '31. And I guess from what George had indicated at our last meeting, it would be in November or by November that you would make the determination of what fiscal year your request should fall into. And I just wondered if there was a good possibility, since we're in FY '27 is when we will be doing the engineering design, is there a possibility that we might be able to move the construction up to FY '28?
Definitely not FY '28.
You don't think
It's gonna
so?
take quite a while just to go through the engineering process. So, I mean, we'll move it up as soon as possible when we have a good idea of when we'll get the design plan ready to go out to bid. And then if we anticipate that being sooner and we have the time to move it in the town meeting, to move it up in the CIP, then we'll do that. But these projects can definitely take quite a while, so.
Right. Well, I was certainly thinking that it wouldn't be done by the spring, but then we also have November town meeting as well. That was why I was thinking that, that from the time an RFQ was awarded, we'd have a year and still come in November of 27 for the FY '28 funds. That's why I was, well, I'll just let it hang out there anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to do it as soon as possible. But,
Okay.
and that's what we'll shoot for, but we have to be strategic about what other things are in the CIP as well, so.
Sure.
I think that FY '31 was chosen as a strategic year. But as the engineering progresses, we'll have a better idea of when we could bump it up to, or
Okay.
vice versa.
All right. Thank you.
I think Griffin's got his hand up.
Griffin's.
Griffin?
Sorry, I'm annoying. And there's also, you could also potentially use Chapter 90 money for that as well, right, Calvin? Depending on
The design, yeah, what we're looking for.
depending on where the cost came in, yeah,
Um,
that could be an option.
Yep, there's definitely Chapter 90 funds available. I think that would definitely be part of it. Definitely don't think it would cover all of it, but then depending on what grants we'd qualify for based on the engineering design that we want to go for is kind of, will kind of depend on how we finance it.
Yep. No, I think, and it looks like Mass DOT is looking to help communities stack grants, whether it's with Complete Streets or other grants as well. Even if you don't have a policy or prioritization plan, they're still looking to give money, and they're giving it yearly now. So I think there's a lot of opportunities there.
Perfect.
Okay. Okay. Discussion of temporary speed table placement. We need to-
Well, I had put that on there because at the last meeting, I thought that what Scott had indicated was he felt that the temporary speed table had been on Skakit Road long enough that at this point, it would be a good candidate to turn it into a permanent speed table there. And then we have then the temporary speed table, and where would the next question could flow to, all right, do we know where we want to place it? We don't have to answer that, certainly, but I just thought it was something that had been discussed at the last meeting that we might want to continue on with that discussion.
But we would keep the one at Skakit.
We would put a permanent one at
That's what I
Skakit.
mean. Okay, yeah.
I think that's one of the, like I was talking about, the on-call services for the engineering, being able to call them, get a design plan for a speed table, put it out to bid, and install it. And then we could move our temporary one to a new location if we wanted to.
So the kind of table we're talking about, permanent, it's a little bit up, then a flat period, a little bit down. And aren't there intervals between, for the emergency vehicles? Is that the kind you're talking about?
I don't picture them as having the spaces for the emergency vehicles, that the gradualness of the speed tables
More important,
more important.
yeah.
I think that's stuff that, there's design standards for that certainly take into consideration when installing it.
I think in the engineering study that's going to be done for the sidewalks, we can look at Main Street, right, Calvin? We talked about that, maybe that traffic calming measures for Main Street as we're doing the sidewalk planning. We can look at crosswalks and speed tables and that type of thing.
Yeah, we talked about the Tonset intersection, further up at, you know, the cemetery and stuff, and we might have to regrade that, and that might narrow the road a little bit for some traffic calming, so.
Right.
Um,
I'm thinking the windmill,
It's all
I'm
stuff
thinking
that-
windmill development too, just to have something there with, by adorning the windmill development. The, you know, the, adorn, you know what I'm talking about, that crosswalk?
Yeah, it's all stuff that, you know, we can input into the design.
So I kind of see it as two parts. If we're going to convert the Skakit Beach one to a permanent, to get the engineering design and cost and the ability to get it paid for, I don't know how long that would take to do. Once we have that, then the second part is, okay, where do we move the temporary one and then choose you know, of the different options? But I guess the question, Calvin, is ballpark, and how big of a project and length of time it might take and approvals to make that a permanent speed bump?
You know, we want to leave it in place through the summer, so we
Yeah.
probably don't want to really start anything. It'd probably be like next spring at the soonest. It's gonna,
Okay,
if we wanted to install a permanent one,
that's doable.
then move the temporary one somewhere. Same time, moving the temporary one isn't a issue. But it obviously, we don't want to move that one until we have plans to put a permanent one in. At this point, it's getting really hard to book even through the fall with a lot of these contractors doing paving. We're having difficulty just planning little jobs with them now, so stuff is already moving into the spring of next year, so.
Yeah. 9 months, I think, is great. I was afraid you were going to say, you know, 2 or 3 years or something, so.
Well, I don't want to commit to anything, but that's a goal to set is.
Yeah,
next
yeah.
spring.
Won't hold you accountable.
Mr. Zenke?
Scott Zanke, Doan Road. Skakit Road works so well, and it's more of a speed hump than it is a traffic table. Typical traffic table will have a height of approximately 5 inches. It'll have an entrance ramp of 2 feet wide, and go to a 5-foot wide. Just enough of a converse table to shed water, and then back to a ramp. I think Skakit works well because you're 150 yards away from a dead-end road. It did decrease some traffic getting down to the beach. We got walkers on each side, very tight road to begin with. But as far as putting those on a primary, you're gonna have noise like you would not believe, with people braking before they get there, accelerating afterwards, landscape trailers, low beds, triaxle, you name it, coming through there. And they're either gonna stop or they're gonna bounce right over them and keep on going. So when you start putting these things on primary traffic roads, be careful what you wish for, because they are not neighborhood friendly. The noise coming off these things, especially at night. We have zero background noise here. That's why you can hear your neighbors talking three doors away. But boy, you'll hear a landscape trailer bounce off those things like you never heard before. So be careful what you wish for.
Thank you. Okay. I guess that's part of our discussion of strategy for planning and funding traffic calming measures. But there are other
Yeah.
comments, though?
For that, I started trying to put together, and it was the Excel spreadsheet that was in your packet, was my first attempt at trying to organize, okay, what are some of our funding sources for some of these things? Griffin mentioned the state trying to help people work through some of these issues. The last time that I did this was over a year ago, and between then and now, things have changed so much on the MassGov website, because things that used to be in one stop have now been moved to a category called Grant Central. And it appears that the things, I don't know how they all flow, but Griffin and Calvin, you would know more. It appears Grant Central seems to be more road-oriented, and the one-stop has pulled out some of the things that were having to do with streets. So anyway, what I just started doing was looking at the timelines of what the application deadlines would be in each one of these categories. Most of them we're not ready for, I understand that, but it would be a good idea for us just to keep in the back of our minds when these grants really do require their applications to be in. The first three would, of course, be our next couple of years' warrant articles for the town. CPA grants really are not appropriate for things like traffic calming or sidewalks. They specify recreation, historical, and housing. And so occasionally something can be used like it was on Overland Way, but that's an exception as opposed to where most CPA grant money goes. So I don't know that we have anything that would fall into a CPA bucket. If we do, it would be a great place to ask for some funds. Another is something George mentioned last time. He mentioned safe routes to school, which is separate from Grant Central, and that this year has an application deadline of October 7th, and we would not be ready for that this year. It's a good amount of money for a project. You can get between $300,000 and $2 million on a Safe Routes to School grant, and the work has to be within 2 miles of a school. So it certainly would be a great source of revenue for Eldridge and for Transit Extension, and maybe even going across Eldridge over onto West Road. So that is a good source of grant money that we can keep in the back of our minds. We won't be ready this year, but just keeping that in the back of our minds is a good source. The one-stop grants, most of them appear now to be used associated with the support of housing. And depending on what we have coming up with affordable housing, it might be something of looking at in the future. Those all now have like an end of March application deadline. And so I don't think that's anything that we would be, certainly wouldn't be looking at next year. But
Could we use, there's a lot of new affordable housing that's just coming in,
right,
not yet populated.
right.
But there undoubtedly will be, by the nature of some of the units, will be children.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't know whether that would be a time that we could better assess what the needs are for sort of grant.
Mm-hmm.
Can I ask a stupid question? Who are the expert grant writers we're talking about going after this money in town?
Well, we've talked about that before, and I think what Calvin had indicated, and Calvin, you can correct me if I'm wrong, was that what we usually do is we utilize the expertise that some of the engineering firms have, that they are excellent grant writers, and they can roll that into, am I wrong on that, Calvin?
No, that's right. I mean, I think there's a lot of knowledge within the town of what grants are out there, and they've navigated the process many times, but, you know, these consulting companies know these grants inside and out and have a good relationship with, you know, MassDOT and the grant awarding authorities. I mean, there's grants out there that you can only apply through with certain engineering companies. So like that bottleneck program that we applied for, we had to use an approved MassDOT engineer who knows the grant in and out. So, you know, depending on the grant, if it's something small, we can definitely handle internally, and, you know, larger grants, these consultants know in and out. They know what you know, they're looking for, what can get us more points and prioritize our project.
So does it work with DPW or the planning department? Do you guys interact? And I'm just wondering how it works with the select board, because the select board is the applicant, I would assume, or somebody in the town that would be the applicant for these grants.
No, like Rich or myself or George, we would apply for the grant in our name, on behalf of the town.
Okay.
Griffin had his hand raised. I don't know if he still wants to.
Griffin, you have something to
Uh,
add?
Calvin got me, I'm good.
Okay. The next to last group was Grant Central. Most of those, I noticed they're reimbursement grants. And so what that would require is that really the project they have to be completed within, so it's only things that are shovel-ready that the town has already expended the money. But there are good grants, but most of them are in August that their application deadline is are. And then the last group that I mentioned is ADA grants. Those are smaller grants, and they would be good, like Calvin was saying earlier with the state, or maybe it was Griffin, like the state helping towns to combine grants, some ADA grants in combination with some others would probably be the best way to use some of the funds that we could apply for there. So that was just my summary, because what we had talked about last time was the cost of what a speed table would be, and everyone seems very interested in moving forward with speed tables. So it would be where that money would come from. We had asked Kelvin, would that money come from your regular maintenance budget? And he said, no, it couldn't. They are too costly to just absorb in regular maintenance. And so it would probably behoove us to have in mind what the cost would be for some of these things and where the money would be available.
That could potentially be, like Griffin was talking earlier, a good Chapter 90 request, get money from the state. So each town has an allotment of money through Chapter 90 program. Everyone knows this, but you have to apply for it, and you can use up to your allotment. And something like a traffic table might be a good fit for that.
Ask a question of Griffin. And Brewster has several crosswalks on the bike path that are using that stamped brick. The orange brick it looks like it's very visible to the to drivers, and you go across these crosswalks and they're really well done. There's several of them in Brewster as you're going down the bike path. I'm not sure what the price tag is on those, Griffin, or but that's an alternative to a speed table in a way, because it's really quite visible and does get people to slow down, even though it's not a speed table. It almost mimics one sometimes. You know what I'm talking
Yeah,
about?
and you can combine the two of them too. So at Millstone Road, there's going to be that same treatment there. It's going to be there in the fall. So that where you, on Millstone Road, where you cross the rail trail, that's not completed yet. So there's and so kind of the story of speed tables, they don't always work out the way that you think they're going to. So the speed table on Millstone Road, it's long, and it's one side it's a little bit of a bump, and the other side it's less of that, because of the natural grade of the road. So it doesn't always provide the same, I guess, slowdown effect. I'm hoping that it does help, but we are going to treat the actual crossing there with the same, I think it's called EnduraBlend, is the name of the product, and it's like a small, it's the stamped aggregate, really, is what it is. And it's worked relatively well where we've done it. We have it at the mill. We have it at Underpass Road. I think maybe one or two other locations.
several,
But we're trying to use that as a standard. Certainly, where at least we have the bike trail. We're doing it at one of our other crossings on Millstone Road as well.
Yeah, I could see that on.
But
Yeah, exactly.
It does work.
Yeah, I like to see it on West Road, you know, going off the bike path, having that stamped brick as a marking, you know?
Yeah, no, I think it's actually a very good product, and we actually used it sort of as a sort of an off-market use on the at the mill sites on Stony Brook Road. We used it as rumble strips. So you know, and it's not really a full rumble strip, but there is a little bit of aggregate in there, and it does provide a little bit of a reveal. So those white stripes as you come down near the you know the herring run at the mill at Stony Brook are that same product, just in lines instead of you know across the crosswalk. They can do it in different colors and whatnot. It's a pretty cool product, and honestly it's held up really well. So the price tag, you know, it's not astronomical. It's, you know, certainly more than you know paint and asphalt, but I think with the way that it's held up, I think it does have some worth for, you know, paying a little bit extra out front.
Yeah, those groove lines are interesting, both traveling on a car and on a bike. It's just enough to kind of give you a little sound and feel that you're going over something and, hey, you need to pay attention, slow down. But it's not a speed bump that really is going to be dramatic, and certainly on a bike. It's hard to go over a speed bump on a bike, but you're saying it's been effective and it's held up over time as well?
Yeah, it's held up. I mean, I don't know how effective it is at
Yeah.
actually slowing people down. But I will say with that area, it was interesting. The safety, I think the chief of safety at Mass DOT, Bonnie Poulin, had reached out to me and said, "Hey, I've been driving through Brewster, and I'm wondering what you did here because it's something that I find interesting." And we said, "Well, we just kind of, you know, faked it till we made it," type of thing. You know, because we had more of a standard rumble strip there, and we knew that, you know, the public wanted something back there. But we did something a little bit different, and it's actually served its purpose pretty well.
Something to
Thank you, Griffin.
yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Maybe something to revisit.
And what's the name of the product?
It's called EnduraBlend. I think
Endurable.
Felix A. Marino is the company that does it. I think it's kind of a product that they're the only company that does it. So I think it's proprietary to them, but you are able to, sometimes it's difficult to use proprietary products in the public. But I think with them, they're on different state contracts, so it's a little bit easier to use.
Okay, thank you.
And cost-wise, Griffin, does it fall more in the scope of paint or more in the scope of what we've been talking about for like a macadam structure? Like
Yeah, you know,
where are you talking cost-wise?
Paint is cheap. Usually paint is pretty cheap. So they're out there stamping it. They're doing like 2 or 3 coats of this product. I mean, they did it in half a day. So I would say it's probably, you know, 4 times the price of paint. You know, probably, you know, $13,000, $14,000 for a crosswalk. And, you know, that's just a kind of throwing a dart right now. But I think that's probably what you'd be looking at. But, you know, we're going on, I think we're going on 5 years with that one crossing, and it's, I'd be happy to take a field trip with Calvin and go look at it to see how well it's standing up.
When we talk about the speed tables, maybe we can include that in the future discussions as an option.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, it sounds interesting.
It does. The other thing is, Joel and Bob, you both at the last meeting were talking about the low-hanging fruit and what types of things were we going to be doing in town that was low-hanging fruit. That would sound like a perfect small cost item that could have major impact. And the other thing was Scott Zanke mentioned Sharrows. And what you are bikers. I don't know if anyone else on our committee. I think you do bike. What is your thought on Sharrows? Do you have the same feeling as Scott does that having those in town more for a larger portion of the town would be of help?
Yes and no. I mean, it's good to have it. I think it's good, it's a good feeling as a biker to see them. As a driver, I'm not sure how much they pay attention to them. You know, to be honest with you, really, the big thing is the shoulder. You know, how much shoulder do you have? You know, and are people willing to give you some space? You know, and the Cheryl can help, for sure, you know. Like I think we were talking about the signage on Main Street going through town, you know, just having the right of a biker to take the full lane because people are going slow down Main Street and people are opening their car doors, you know, or in town, and it'd be nice to have those signs that say, you know, bikers can have full use of that lane, like, and Brewster has some of those up. I don't think we have any yet, but we're gonna get them, I guess, Calvin. But Cheryl's are in town, and I think when you get out of town, you know, that's, my opinion is the shoulder is the most important thing, you know, how well it's marked, and what do you think?
Yeah. Well, to Scott's point, and to follow what you were saying, it's not expensive. And it's relatively easy to do compared to, you know, a major engineering redo. It lends itself in the areas where we're going to put the signs saying bicycles may use the full lane. So we're putting it right downtown where we already have the Sharrows, but we're also putting it over by Skakit. So that would probably be my first suggestion, where we put those signs, like going towards Skakit, probably paint some lines, Sharrows there. I've done some research, and their studies have shown they're not necessarily that effective at slowing down the traffic, because people kind of don't see them, they ignore them, or they don't even know what they are. But is it better than nothing? Yeah. Could it possibly slow one car down? Yeah. But I don't know if we're going to see a dramatic impact. So, and there could be some other parts of the town that we decide it couldn't hurt to paint a few.
I think where the 4-foot signs are, it would be appropriate to have a shower, to, you know, some of those showers to let motorists know that, hey, you know, it's a narrow shoulder here, and bikers do need to have some right of way there. They need to have that space. So it's just another marking you can put up, you know, to get their attention.
Like Rock Harbor, that area, that would be a good spot. There's no shoulder.
If I can add, I think paint markings are cheap. I agree with Scott. I think, you know, if adding I think actually paint markings can be more effective than signage many times. And, you know, we're about to try some things in Brewster where we're trying to put, you know, edge lines on roads that didn't have edge lines before, and you know, monitor the speed out there to see if it, you know, studies have shown that, you know, narrowing lanes through pavement markings, you know, can have, you know, the effect of 2 to 5 miles, which is pretty significant when you look at the speeds of our roads. So, you know, we're trying to look at things like that as well, but, you know, signage is not always the, you know, the panacea that, you know, it's going to slow people down.
Right.
Scott Zenke, Doan Road. I agree with you, Griff. Sharrows are not a traffic calming per se, but when you take Beach Road, if it didn't have any traffic painted on it at all, your traffic's going to be going down the middle of it and probably doing about 40 miles an hour until it has an oncoming car coming at it. It's not going to pull to the side. Once you put a double line down the center and put a fog line or shoulder line in there, now you're cutting people's actual widths down, and that slows traffic down. It's just like when you come to a tunnel. Everybody starts to slow down because you feel cramped. You feel unsafe. Sharrows, again, are not a traffic calming, but again, it's something in the road that people are going to say, all right, walkers are in the shoulder, bikers should be here. I've got to go out and around. So it's more of a safety thing and a guidance than it is traffic calming. And it's cheap.
There's whole programs for the low impact design traffic calming that have proven to be effective, like Griffin had said. I think like Harwich had done some in the center of town where they painted shoulders, and you know, it's that Bank Street, I think, over there where they had
Yeah, we did it. Well, we did it on. I was the part of the during COVID as the the shared streets program. There was a grant in Harwich where we got, we got some money, and more of it was for sharing the streets, but it's also focused on traffic calming, and we used it to sort of kind of bring in some of the radii of some of the intersections, which some people like, some people don't, because it eliminates some slip lanes. But one of the things that I find interesting is they're looking at that now. They're revisiting it, and one of the things that's great, and I always thought about all along, was once we had the paint there for a while, you could see where the desire lines were for the vehicles. So now you can go back and look at it and say, okay, wait a minute, maybe the radii shouldn't have been all the way back to where they were, but maybe there's a happy medium where we can still have some traffic calming, because also, choking down those intersections helps pedestrians, because it makes the crosswalks that much shorter. So, the crosswalk at Bank Street where the library is very, very long. And, some people have liked that because it makes traffic easier to get out of there. But for pedestrians, it's less desirable. So, it's finding that balance between, the pedestrians and the vehicles. But I think, by shortening up some of those intersections, it really helps with the speed. And as you drive through that intersection, or, coming through there from Orleans, they've got the speed, the variable speed sign there, 25 miles per hour, because people are going, 45 coming through that section, and they're trying to slow people down, which I think has been somewhat effective.
Okay. Anything else on this topic? Okay, I think there were a number of good ideas put out. Okay, the next thing, other business, we do have to do elections, the committee chair, the vice chair, and the clerk.
Okay, I nominate Peter Algier as our committee chairperson.
Any seconds?
Second.
Okay, discussion? No.
You're doing a great job.
That wasn't what I was trying to get.
Keep it up.
Okay, okay, then we have to vote individually because Griffin's on the,
Start with
Jeff
Griffin.
Deering.
Aye, Calvin Sutton.
Peter Algar, I guess I don't vote.
I, Stephanie Gaskill.
I, Bob McDonald.
I, Joel Porton.
Griffin.
Aye, Griffin Rutter.
Okay, thank you.
Unanimous.
Okay, vice chair,
I nominate Scott McDonald in absentia, but I think that he will agree.
Second that.
good, okay. Any discussion? Okay, let's go around the table.
I, Jeff Deering.
Aye, Calvin Sutton.
Aye, Peter Algar.
I, Stephanie Gaskill.
I, Bob McDonald.
I, Joel Porton.
Griffin Rutter, aye.
Good, all right, thank you. Okay, and then clerk, I nominate Stephanie Griffin.
Gaskill.
Gaskill, I'm sorry. Yeah, well, I think you could share the job with Griffin.
Second
Sorry.
it.
Okay,
Second.
any discussion? All right, go around the room.
Jeff Deering, aye.
Calvin Sutton, aye.
Peter Algar, aye.
Bob McDonald, aye.
Joel Porton, aye.
Griffin Rutter, aye.
Okay, all right, thank you all very much.
Thank you.
The August 5th workshop. So what that is that the Select Board is going through a process, given that there's significantly more staff than there used to be, they're looking to see whether what's the proper balance between advisory committees like ours and the staff. And in the past, some advisory committees, probably including ours, have done things that can be done or should be done by the staff. And they haven't really sorted all of this out. And so that's why they have asked to go through the charges of each committee, and then they will rework the charges of the committee. I will tell you that I had two things that I said. So I met, I guess it was last week, with Meph Runyon, who is our staff liaison, and then Mike Solitro, who is in the manager's office and is kind of honchoing this process. And so I said two things. I said, one, I said, since we have merged the committees, that I think we've been able to respond more effectively and promptly to citizen comments, good or bad, whereas in the past, when we were the Bikeways committee only, well, that's the one that Stephanie and I were on, we'd say, okay, here's an issue, we need to go and get an answer from somebody in DPW. And so then it was really the next month until we came back to that issue. But I think here, with this mix, and then we also get better educated. I mean, we may go with an idea that they've already looked, the staff has already looked at, or that it's outside the bounds of state regulations or whatever. So I think, from my perspective, that merger has helped us do a better job. And then the other thing I did say was about the EV bikes, that, that is such an issue, and it's not in the charge at all, because, of course, this has really emerged much more recently than the charge was written. And so those were the two things that I mentioned. So they're going to have a workshop on next Wednesday, no, this Wednesday, the 5th. Now, they originally said that we're third on the list, but then when I looked at the select board agenda for that, we're the only one on the list. And we're the first item on the list. So if you are interested, and they did say that we're all invited to be there. It didn't say exactly what our role would be. Be there by 2 o'clock, because that's when the meeting opens, and that's when we're going to be discussed. So I don't know exactly how long this discussion will be, but that would be useful for, at least for people to hear what's on the minds of the select board members. So that's what I learned at that. And my sense was certainly that the feeling is that there are certain things that the staff should be able to do now where they weren't sufficient before. My guess is that has to do with perhaps some of the engineering and design type things, but let's wait and see.
Could I just ask Kelvin, has there been a large increase in the DPW staff?
I wouldn't say a large increase. I think we have a lot of competent people on board who can handle a lot of things, but I think the additional, some positions have been elevated, and say that there's a lot of additional staff.
Yeah. It just has always seemed to me like DPW was spread so thin. I didn't know if that had improved over the past couple of years. And of course, Jeff, the fire department has always had difficulty hiring. You just have openings and you need staff, but
Yeah, we've added positions in the department, but those are on the service delivery end, not on the administrative side of the operation.
Okay.
So where a lot of this stuff that this committee visits is more on the admin side of it. Ultimately, it does have an effect on the, service delivery side of it, but we haven't added positions there.
you haven't?
Not on the administrative side.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Peter, can I ask a question about the role of this committee? When community development, when housing and commercial development takes place in the town, what is the role of this committee to try to interact with the development community when they're doing something close to the bike trail or a bikeway or sidewalks and that kind of a thing, as far as having some way of commenting on that? You know, one of the things that I came into this late with the Governor Prince housing development,
Right.
but I was looking at that development, and the access to the bikeway, the Cape Cod Rail Trail, is a very, zigzag entryway to the bike trail, and there's really no right-of-way that I can see that's really a public right-of-way for the bike trail to get down to 6A. And to me, it's a no-brainer to be able to do that, with the town, owning the property and then, getting involved. And I think this committee, I don't think, ever got involved in looking at that, to give some comment. So I'm just wondering, the role of this committee with the town, is there a role for us to, seek input, for things that are close to the bike trail, like for transportation, for bikers, for pedestrians, et cetera? Maybe it's something where the Architectural Review Committee gets in, when they're looking at something, they may get us involved with that, or just have us take a look at the access points. Just a thought, I don't know what role, if any, we have.
Well, I think if we know something that's on the agenda of the Econ Development Committee or whatever, or some other committee, we can always go and speak, but that requires, it's
Yeah.
kind of ad hoc and.
Yeah, those things can be missed very easily. I think
Exactly, yeah.
in the town where I came from in South Burlington, Vermont, there was a very robust rail trail, not rail trail, but just rec path development that took place. Every housing development that went in, there was usually access ways to the bike trail, to the bike trail network, and it was done in conjunction with development that happened. So it wasn't just a public, community doing that all the time. It's private and public partnership. So when we can easily, say, hey, it's easy to make this connection, we're going to be doing it anyway, but let's make sure we actually have a connection that's going to make sense for public use as well. So it's kind of built, it's a process that's built in.
Yeah.
Into the system. So I'm not sure if there's anything we can suggest to the select board, that we have more, input into things of that sort, so we don't miss them. I think we missed the one on Governor Prince.
We did.
Well, I think it is connected to the bike trail.
Yeah, but it looks like it's designed for the project. It's a zigzag thing, and, and I think I was reading something, Stephanie, you said, you commented that you can the public can get access to go up their driveway for the project and then that's not a good idea, I mean, I think you just need a more of a direct route, to get out to 6A, because a lot of people could use that bike trail to get to 6A, to all the business opportunities that are there and people that want to get there, Right now, the way it's designed, I
ultimately
think
gonna
it's.
be private property, so I don't know if, promoting it as a cut-through is something we can do.
The town had a lot to do with with that site, though, so there's no reason why that couldn't be designed early on.
But more generally, you're saying.
Just in general,
As certain projects go forward.
if you're near the bike trail like that, you're
Yeah.
abutting it, we should have some role, I think, to looking at that and making some comments, just, hopefully it's not gonna cost money, but it's just that, hey, look, did you look at this, type thing,
Yeah, I mean, I think you seem to be suggesting, should there be some sort of relationship between the two committees? Is that what you're?
Yeah, I'm not sure what committee, whether it's the Architectural Review Committee, but I don't know how much they had involvement with it.
Well, unfortunately, with the 40B project, there is
didn't-
no requirement for any review by the Architectural Review Committee. The only committee in town on a 40B project that has any input is the Zoning Board of Appeals.
Yeah.
Other than that, there is no requirement for any other committee
Yeah.
to have input.
But that's for that project.
Well, You could always serve on 2 committees.
No, I'm just thinking
No.
that, we're a transportation and bikeway committee.
Yeah,
There's development taking place in the town that's going to be
Yeah, no, that's-
passing the bike path,
exactly.
rec paths. We should try to find connectivity that makes sense.
Yeah,
And I don't know, I'm not saying I'd have the answers to how we do that, but
no,
there
that's,
should be a process that, we have some input to make suggestions.
yeah.
And there's always site plan, a lot of stuff goes through a preliminary site plan review, which is something, all the departments kind of get a say in. So it's something we can keep in mind, when we see it at first. Having a more direct route, I think in this case, it was nice that they had the connection to the bike trail. It was mainly targeted at the residents in the community. I know that there's also some difficult grades back there, so I don't know if that had anything to do with its zigzag.
Okay, micromobility, I mean, we talked a little bit about that. I believe I sent around that article from the Globe by the 2 women. I thought those were really good articles. They were just being interviewed this Sunday on whatever the PBS thing is on the morning of Sunday. But making the same points, and so there's kind of, should be a wake-up call to parents about how dangerous these things are. So I think we're gonna see a lot more attention given to all these vehicles, I mean, some of which are really not quite motorcycles, but, in the hands of a 13-year-old, they're pretty dangerous. And there is the proposed legislation that the governor has put forward to the legislature, so I think certainly that's something we should pay attention to. Okay. Let's see.
Date for our September
Oh,
meeting.
right, yeah. All right, so you had proposed either the Friday the 11th or Friday the,
Yeah, I've had second thoughts about that, and Calvin, you're going to be, I think, the deciding force here, because you had talked, we had talked about having VHB come today, which they couldn't. They can come in September, however, our September meeting is on Labor Day, and so we would not have that date. We would have to pick an alternate date. And at first, I was asking everyone, well, would you be available on the 11th or the 18th, because we know Fridays are open? But then my second thought was, knowing the community and how interested they are on anything on Beach Road, I don't want to, pick a date that is off the wall and not within our usual meeting time, because I don't want them feeling like they don't have the chance to participate, and that's what we're doing. We were picking a date that nobody could be at, and it would, so I was wondering my next thought would be, do we have anything time constraint-wise that we need to meet in September for, or should we at this point just move our not have a September meeting and ask VHB if they could be at our October meeting, which I believe is Monday, October maybe 3rd, is that what it is? 5th, okay. So in that case, what we would do would be, we just would not have a September meeting, and I didn't know what everyone felt about that.
I think if we were gonna push it to the 18th, that pushing it to the beginning of October would be fine. I can make sure VHB is still on board. We're supposed to meet with them just to follow up on a couple of things later this month, so we can talk to them and see what their schedules look like. So,
What is everyone else's feeling about that, about not having a September meeting, since it falls on Labor Day, and instead having the VHB presentation at our October meeting?
yeah, I think, your point about the reaction if we do it at a very different time on a different day, that it could be misinterpreted.
And difficult to arrange in everyone's schedule as well,
Yeah.
where everyone already has first Monday of the month set aside to suddenly say, oh, well, how about Friday morning? Could you be here? You know, that's difficult for everyone to try to schedule another time, so. Do we want to take a vote on that?
Could you not, like, say if the holiday falls on a Monday, it's just going to be on Tuesday?
Well,
mean,
that
if-
would be good, except that the room would not be available. The
Oh,
room,
yeah,
we
that's-
picked about the
Oh, I see.
only
Gotcha.
day that the room is available, the Nauset room, so. And as it happens, the only Monday that is a holiday in the year is Labor Day. So,
Really?
the first
Oh, the
first Monday of the month, the only one all year that falls, that interferes with our schedule, happens to be Labor Day, at least this year. I haven't looked beyond this year, but.
Okay. Well, I don't know, that's the trial of Mary Queen of Scots, begins in 1568. so I
Well,
don't know
we'll see.
anybody's-
So I'll make a motion that we postpone our September meeting to be on October 5th.
Okay.
Okay.
Discussion? Yes?
Hi, Kate Collins, Beach Road. Question for you. Will there be notification given to the residents of Beach Road that this is on the agenda? I only knew about this meeting because I have the push notification that I got the text last week, and I've been frustrated at the lack of information given to people who are impacted about that meeting.
Yeah, if you could send me your email, and I'll get together with you after this, I will give it to you. I've tried
No,
to.
I know about this because I happened to drive by last summer when there was an informational thing
Yeah.
up at the road, and it got on, my attention. But I think there are a lot of neighbors on Beach Road who don't know about
Yeah,
this proposed
and I do
sidewalk.
make an attempt. I mean, at our last meeting where it was addressed, I sent emails individually to every person that had ever been at a meeting that I knew about who wanted to be notified. But it's very difficult that I don't have everyone. So anyone that I do send it to, people that are active on Beach Road. I know Rhodey Thompson and her husband Paige are very active, and Bill Weeble is very active, and Catherine Stevens is very active, and so I make sure all of those people get an email notification that we are going to be discussing Beach Road. So if you have other people that you want on that list, or you would like to be on it, just give it to me and I'll make sure that you're notified.
Great, I appreciate that, but it's sort of as if you know about it, you know about it, but if you don't know about it, there's no way for you to know about it. I mean, it's the catch-22.
Yep.
And my other question for you is, during that presentation, which will now be in October, will there be a discussion if there is land taking, how that will affect the properties?
No.
That's not in the purview of the information, because I know if some of the, I'm on the even side of Beach Road. Proposed sidewalk is for the other side of the street, so my property won't be directly impacted, but there are properties, because of the lot size and configuration, that even if you took a foot of land from those properties, they would become non-conforming. And there are, I just sat, when I was flipping on my phone, there are about 22 lots on that side of Beach Road that are already non-conforming. So you're shrinking lots that are already, grandfathered in, but.
Sure.
So that's not part
Well,
of the
it's
discussion?
only a feasibility study, and it won't be using any field survey results. It will be just, it's very general. We're nowhere nearly getting to that point of being able to define exactly where a taking would be. And it's really way too early in the process to come up with that. So the presentation will just be showing if what we're doing is we're making this as narrow as possible and fitting into the existing pavement, how would it look? But
Okay, so it's like a refinement of the presentation that was given in November?
Yes,
Okay,
right.
great, thank you.
Okay.
Okay, one thing I think we need to add to our next meeting, though, is we never have followed up on the submitting our crosswalk policy to the select board. And, I mean, George isn't here, so we can't decide on that, but I think that's something we should bring to a conclusion.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, now we do need to do the approval of the minutes from our June 1st meeting. So thank you for doing that. I mean, for writing them, okay? I make a motion that we accept the minutes as circulated.
Second?
Second, okay. Any discussion? Okay. Let's go around.
Hearing aye?
Calvin Sutton, aye.
Peter Algar, aye.
Stephanie Gaskell, aye?
Bob McDonald, aye.
Joel Porton, aye.
Tiffany, you still with
Griffin,
us?
is no longer with us.
He wasn't at the meeting anyway, so he would have to
Okay.
abstain.
Okay.
It's unanimous.
So,
I make a motion that we adjourn.
anybody want to second that?
I'll second it.
Okay. Any discussion? I doubt it. Okay. Jeff?
Jeff Deering, aye.
Calvin Sutton, aye.
Peter Algar, aye.
Stephanie Gaskell, aye?
Bob McDonald, aye. So-
Joel Porton, aye.